compression that you get if you hit a bump at a particular speed and it pushes you up. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't get that. It just sort of glides. So the suspension just works a lot nicer for that.
Nick said he did fourth gear entries at third gear speeds once.
So just logging along in fourth gear, like 2,000 RPM. I'm also thinking it's the weight of it as well. I think you get the extra momentum, makes it sort of slide a bit easier. It makes it, when you throw a big car like that, it's gonna want to keep going in that direction a lot more than a low car.
Nah. Well, yeah, no, you're right, but it's more the suspension.
But nah.
You are right.
Itself to the road,
but it's the suspension is the difference. Because if you take a JZX over the jump line at Minami, it feels like it just floats over that jump. Even though it's got air, it's not rough at all.
I drove a Gumby's JZX, but I only drove that on school course, unfortunately. And then the other one was the Laurel on North course. And I didn't really feel too much of a difference in the Laurel. I don't know if the Laurels have max struts or if they're double wishbones or not. But
they're max struts.
Oh, they're max struts, are they?
Pretty sure they are. Laurel is
probably why I didn't feel any different.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's max strut.
Yeah. But if it's anything like a Falcon, because they got double wishbone, I sort of get what you mean from there.
Yeah.
Always relating it back to his coons.
Mate,
they look so similar. You look at a JZX front end setup, and then you look at a Falcon front end setup, and you're like, can we just put the JZX stuff in this?
Yeah, you guys have been talking about this shit for ages until you actually do it. Just make it happen. Stop talking about it and make it happen.
It's getting close. The XR6 turbos are under $5,000 now. Just have to find a manual one to pop up.
AUs is still the better way to go.
Nah, I want an XR6 turbo manual under $5,000. Not like a bucket, but an average sort of car.
Oh, that'd be the nicest thing you own.
Connor was also relaying a story earlier about a time that he lost a wheel. He left it in EG's yard and it's been enveloped and he's never seen it again. So incidents like that happen as well when people lose wheels. Just check EG's yard.
Oh, I can see his wheel now.
EG's too dry for that. Too dry for that joke.
Connor leaves so much shit here.
So at least someone does.
I thought it was funny.
So yeah, I guess that's about it. Unless you want to talk more about the safety sort of thing.
Nah, well, I guess overall with the safety stuff is I think the reality is that event organisers worldwide need to be careful of what they're doing, thinking that they're being safe, protecting grass, doing all that sort of shit. Because we've seen some crazy crap put in place over the years. Even in Australia, in Australia to try and combat things from happening. Yet it's not really combating anything from happening. It's to protect grass and I remember when I think it was Matt Porter got smacked in the head at Oran Park when they first put the tyre bundles on the sort of dip on South Circuit there, and hit a tyre bundle sideways and it came in half the top two tyres in that bundle, smacked him in the side of the helmet, I'm pretty sure. And then the following year they just made them lower, which meant people were just getting air over the top of them. Josh Shuttleworth on South Circuit, when they started just laying the tyres down instead of having them standing upright, went over the top of them. The number of accidents and cars getting airborne down at Malala when they were having similar things like that happen.
Oh yeah, those rolls
Yeah,
even.
they used to have
Yeah.
cars
Yeah,
that have
yeah,
massive rolls. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, drivers got to take responsibility for some of the stuff and not pushing outside their limits, but it'll be the dude who's kept super consistent laps and just has one sort of fuck up, or for some reason the car cuts power at the wrong time and they end up going airborne over that sort of stuff. That'll be the person that suffers because a whole bunch of other people have been dirt dropping or misbehaving, and somebody else ends up suffering in the end because of that sort of stuff. So I think, yeah, track safety, from a track point of view, yeah, definitely has to be taken care of by the track and providing a safe as possible environment. And I think over the years, even Ebisu's shown that the track itself is pretty safe, from when accidents happen sort of point of view. I don't think there's a huge amount more that they can do, and the dirt embankments all seem fairly either soft because people have been chopping them up, or sort of follow the contour of where the track's headed. So you shouldn't be sort of having too many major issues with that. And it's improved track safety over the years, but yeah, then the rest of it's really up to the drivers to make sure either the car's up to standard or they're up to standard for how hard they're pushing. I saw a video, Ty's vlog video from Spring Jam, and somebody went through the tyre wall on the first corner at Port Macquarie, and
What was that?
and in a 350Z and snapped one of the fucking logs that was being used as a pole for the fence. Just clean snapped it in half. So the track couldn't be any more safe really. But if somebody's pushed outside their limits and they manage to go that far off track, then yeah, driver start taking some responsibility. And I think also tracks, I guess I think Wakefield used to have it when it was an Armco barrier as the front straight. If you bent that Armco barrier, you're paying for it. So
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
making sure drivers are paying for it. Figure 8, when I drove it on Saturday night, I think 3 or 4 fire extinguishers were used on Figure 8, and one was used on Wet Pan. Like those fire extinguishers, like $160 a recharge or something. And that's not being passed back onto the driver, and that's that amount for that fire extinguisher is more expensive than what the driver was charged to drive that event. And that's not being passed on by all clubs. Like I know Archie and Australian Drift Club and a few others have started charging people for things like fire extinguishers. But yeah, like that sort of stuff, if you're not comfortable paying for that, then yeah, you should be able to get a refund and go home before the event starts. And if you start driving, you accept the fact that you're liable for excessive damage to the facility or to equipment that's being used, because yeah, at what point do you become responsible as the driver? It's not a show up and fuck things up and then go home because, hey, I paid my X amount of money even though it doesn't cover the cost of the damage that you've done. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah.
a bit harsh, but I
No,
think,
it
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
But I think that's the direction that it all has to go. And yeah, I guess even if somebody's consistently dirt dropping, if they want to start shoving fines on that, start fining people for it at tracks that they're not happy for it. It'll stop fairly quickly. That person will drive within their limits fairly quickly too. So, or they'll go home and bitch to their mates, and then they won't be seen again. So it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think that side of things.
The issue is, people. I think, yeah. So the issue is here. So you could have those rules, but on the very last lap of the very last session, they'll go, "I'm going to break it because I'm never coming back, or I'm leaving and I might not come back."
That's fine, because if you punch through a fence that needs to be repaired, you're paying for it. If you set the car on fire, you're paying for your fire extinguisher. Or if they've got to use excessive amount of recovery equipment to dig you out, then you're paying for it. Like it should be as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
I think you start doing stuff like taking deposits before people are allowed out on track.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Like, you got to be able to produce. You got to be able to produce a credit card or something. Like, Sadly, yeah, it's the minority that ruin it for the majority. But
that's so the issue with like enforcing cages, enforcing
but this is what I'm saying.
extra
You can avoid
safety
some
and
of
things
those
like
things
that. Yeah,
by you can avoid some of that by putting more of it back on the drivers, having to take responsibility for that stuff, and then if things are happening that are then costing the track money to repair because people are going way outside their level, then they're paying.
yeah, but
Like
they
shit, the
can't.
guys got
They can't. People can't front up that much money. Like this is
then
a.
don't
We
then
need to
then
get people.
then don't drive. Like don't drive outside your means.
Get
Yeah,
yourself a
well,
credit card.
if people can drive within the means now, then that'd be better. Because all it's doing is it's making it hard for other people to drive.
Oh,
So
yeah, 100%. But if you push way too hard on, say, Minami, and you do that whole backward entry thing where you end up in the spectator area of the D1 course, you're driving harder than you should be. And I
yeah,
know Daigo
Everyone's, I
wants to
think,
do it,
ended up
but
there. I've ended up
yeah.
there.
But you know, if that has to constantly be repaired by the track, then it's not worth their while even having that track open. So say it's costing them too much money, then it's not
that's
worth
right. Yeah,
that. And I don't think people realize that, you know, at that stage, that's why tracks get shut down and things like that, because the money that it's making just isn't worth the while of having that facility open. So
but then even if you put that cost on there, people will just stop turning up then, and that's not what we want. We want people to go, but we want people to just to drive within their level. And so how do you enforce that rather than putting a fee on it?
yeah,
If people want to do it, they'll do it. Like, because I know the I know this is a bit of a different thing, but the hire cars that you can get for the Nürburgring, for instance, you have to put a $10,000 deposit down. And that's just for the basic cars they have there. If you start going up, you need to put bigger deposits down. So for the 8.6 I rented when I went over there, $10,000 deposit on a credit card. And it does exactly what Greg says. It's you definitely think about it when you're coming barreling down some of those corners. It's like, I don't want this $10,000 coming out of my credit card anytime soon. So you do think a bit differently.
But then you get people that are capable of paying, and say because they don't want to put people off, so a track will say, yeah, you need to put a $200 deposit down, and that's like affordable for most people. But then you get another person that comes along and is like, fuck, I've got like I earn $200,000 a year, or $500,000 a year, and then they're like, I'm just going to destroy it.
That's why that deposit, but that's why, like, the example that Steve used, that deposit is big enough to replace whatever's sort of been done.
Yeah, but if there is an accident and like you genuinely something like it wasn't intentional.
But why should that be somebody else's problem?
It's not someone else's problem, but
it does. But somebody's going to have to outlay that money to fix your fuck up.
Yeah.
Why should anybody be out money because of?
No, I can understand that, but
like I understand the example I use on Minami. Like, a lot of people end up in that wall, and all they've done is started extending the tire barrier further and further out, and all that sort of stuff. So that's probably not an expensive fix. But when you're talking like Armco barrier, that the front wall used to be at
Wakefield,
at Wakefield, and all that stuff just gets super expensive super quickly.
Yeah.
And nobody else should have to wear that cost. Like, do you want to show up to a Wakefield day where $600 to enter just in case somebody ends up in the fence across the board? No, you want the one dickhead who's punched the wall to have to pay for it, because it shouldn't impact you because you're not a dickhead.
Well, that's the thing. It is impacting you because you need to pay entry plus a deposit. So you need to have. You
get back if you haven't been a dickhead.
I know, but it is something that you will get back, but you have to have it in the first place. So if you don't have that 10 grand credit card, and what are you going to do? You're just going to not be able to drive.
Well, it doesn't have to be 10 grand. But
I know, but there was an example. So that's what I was saying, like $200.
$500, I think is perfectly reasonable.
That's what I was saying. And then you get someone that is capable of paying that $200 or $500, and they'll still fuck it up because they're like, oh, $200 or $500, who gives a shit? Like, I earn so much money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and they'll still fuck it up.
There's not that many people that have that sort of.
But I would say that's. But if you've managed to score a $500 damage bill, that's your strike. Like, that's you out. And if you want to keep going, you pay another deposit at that stage. Like, you don't just get to keep going and going and going and collecting, doing as much damage as you like, an extra $500. It's just the fact that, yeah, kind of saying it doesn't have the 500 for this day. We're talking about tracks that are worried about significant damage. Somewhere like a Wakefield now is the most damage you can do at Wake, a few dirt drops, and you're going to bust up a tyre barrier. And I'm pretty sure the tyre barrier is going to bust up your car before you.
So, like with the dirt drops, that is part of that additional fee. So the $1,500,
and the tracks have started implementing that. There is a drift tax on a lot of your events.
I know.
I'm talking more specifically at these places that are copping damage that's outside of what would be the norm, like somebody going through a tire wall and crashing into a log pylon.
Why the issue is, like, why we because you're still paying. Oh, sorry. You think it'd be incentive not to do dirt drops, but they go, oh no, I can pay the $20 extra, and so I'm going to keep doing it anyway. Because I look at when I went to Wakefield the time before last, that dug up area that normally gets dug up around a short course, that was all grass and it was filled. At the end of the day, it was completely destroyed. It was a huge rut. It didn't stop people because people could afford that $20. So, and they're like, oh, who cares? Like, we're paying the $20 extra. We'll just fuck the course up. It doesn't put them off because they can afford to do it.
But it's two different ways of looking at it too. Like the track
it's
has
the
gone.
Same way.
Like Queensland Matsuri is a perfect example of it. They keep running the event because they know they can make a crap load of money out of it. So they go, we're happy on the Monday to have to spend the time and the money to fix it because we're making X amount, plus we can afford the up day, and that's what the venue should be doing. But I'm talking outside the normal damage of a normal person.
Well, I don't go in the dirt and keep my foot into it.
You're saying you're paying an extra $20, but you're paying that $20 whether you stuff up or not, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is if you put the deposit down, you're incentivized not to start stuff up, so you get some money back.
Yeah, but how much is that deposit going to be? And
but I'm talking dirt drops you can't police. Wrecking a car at Nürburgring,
you can police dirt drops. Police dirt drops.
You can police dirt drops.
You just watch it, and then if you're like, if you watch him
at TCA and Taz, but it didn't really make a difference then. Like, we were actively telling people they were losing 50% of their score roughly every time they dropped a wheel off, but it was still happening. But
that's part of them pushing hard and all that sort of stuff. But if it was
but they don't have to,
and then having to pay for it.
Because they don't have to push hard. We said it's a meter, so if you get within the zone, it doesn't matter how close you get to the edge of that track, you're not going to score any more
difference. Yeah.
No, as long as you're in that 1 meter block. So if you risk going out there, it's not going to get you an extra 10 points.
Tell people that it's going to be a $1,500 fine that they've already paid for, and they don't get that money back until the end of the weekend. And if they've dirt dropped more than 4 times, they're not going to dirt drop more than 4 times.
Okay, say it's a $1,500 deposit, and then how many people are going to go, I can't afford this deposit? Like, if it's $400...
Yeah, but you do it on a credit card, so it hasn't cost you anything. It's just a reimbursed...
What if you don't have a credit card? Like, I didn't have a credit card until...
But if you don't have a car, you don't go drifting. Steve can't sit there and whinge and go, I can't go drifting.
But we don't want to put people off from driving. I mean, but... That's the point, is we want to get people in, and a lot of people want to get more people drifting.
But somewhere like Archie is now set up to handle that sort of situation where you can't really dirt drop anywhere that is all that major, and if you're not dirt dropping, you're in a fence.
Yeah.
And that's at a drift-specific track. So
that's
if you really want to drift, you can go there. Or you go to a venue that doesn't care because they're charging you enough money, like a QR for a Matsuri, where they're charging enough money and making enough money on that weekend. They don't clean the track between the 2 days of the event. Like, if the track gets totally fucked up on Saturday, the track's still a piece of shit on Sunday morning. And you just keep driving through that crap. And then on Monday, when they've got the time, they clean it and make it all nice again. But some tracks just don't don't want that hassle at all.
What if
And
they?
that's
What if they could
on the,
cut?
on the, on
what
the
if they
stream
can
quick, and we
cut
get back to it?
half?
Yeah.
What's the
'cause-
question first? Yeah.
All right, so you got Logan wondering why there's so many fires at events, and I was just going to say because most of these drift cars are running high RPM, big angle, not much airflow, to keep them cool, so they get hot, which is what he would in his car.
Stab.
All right, back to your shit talking.
But and again, it
No.
it comes
So-
down to the venue.
So say QR. Say they go. What's the entry fee for that? Say it's $400 because it's a round number. And so they go. Okay, if no one, if everyone promises not to do a dirt drop, entry fee is halved.
Yeah.
And then,
And then
everyone
what
would
happens if they
agree.
do a dirt drop?
Everyone would agree, wouldn't they? Because they're like, yeah, shit, yeah, we would do it because it's like, well, say it's like even $100, $100 because we don't have to clean up, we don't have to do all that shit. But people
Yeah.
would still do
And
it.
what instant kick it? What like? But
No,
it just
you
needs to
can't
be
do it at
enforced.
all.
Like, if you said it was an instant kick out if they dropped dirt.
Yeah, but they're gonna kick at the end of the event, so they'll be banned for life. Oh, actually, no, that's
Yeah.
too extreme. No. There'll be no punishment because you're trusting people not to do it.
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that.
I
It's
know
like saying
it doesn't
we have
work,
all
so
these
that's
laws.
why
It's like
that's
saying
why
we
we
have all
charge
these
you.
laws, but we don't have jail.
we're charging them. That's why they're already
That-
like
This
taxed
is
for
why
the
whole
fact that
idea of
it's gonna
deposits
happen.
work. This is why everything has a deposit because people are more incentivized if they know they're going to get money back. If they're paid. That's now dead money. If you have a deposit there, you're like, oh, cool. If I don't stuff up, I'm going to get some cash back.
So,
Yeah, when you have a key to a lot, hey, shit, even the trolleys, you put your $2
You're
in
gonna put
your trolley,
$2 coin in there, yeah.
and you take it back because you want your $2 back, and you don't want some other motherfucker returning it later to get your $2 back.
And that's only $2.
But-
And people.
but that's
walk
only
all the way across the
$2.
bloody car park.
yeah, that's only $2. But when you're talking about $1,500 on top of a
I understand
$200,
that, but people are
that's
Yeah, but people
$1,700 entry fee, and that's
Yeah, but
people. You're
people-
gonna put people off. Like you ask how many people.
But reality is you have, depending on whatever the deposit is, if you keep going back to that venue, that deposit is only ever going to cost you once.
Yeah, but you
Because
always
it's
have to
not-
have it.
Yeah, you've always got to have it, but you've only
You
ever
gotta
going to cost
you
you that
gotta
once.
save up for it once, yeah.
Yeah, you only need it once.
And if what happens if you make a mistake, like you're genuine sort of,
Then you,
oh
then-
fuck, or like you
then you should be
just
paying for it.
Yeah.
If
for a dirt
if you
drop
punched
for
a wall or the car's caught on
$1,500.
fire, and you have to pay for a fire extinguisher.
If you make a genuine mistake out on the road and you accidentally pull in front of someone, you still got to pay for that.
Yeah,
That's a genuine mistake, you know. It's the
yeah,
same
but
sort
they
of thing.
should. I think they should just kick off a lot of people. Anyway, like they should take cars away, licenses, whatever. I don't even know how,
Of course
even
they
if-
should.
but it still happens.
You
Like
you keep contradicting yourself though. You're like, we need to get more people in, but we need to kick more people out for being.
no,
dumb.
because I want more people in.
But we don't want deposit. Yeah, but we don't want people to pay deposits.
But if
because
people
they
can't pay
afford it.
deposits, I'm saying they can't pay it. It's too much, and if it's a reasonable amount, they're going to abuse it. Do you understand?
It's
So-
just like anything, you got to find the sweet spot. But I honestly think that people are more incentivized by getting money back at the end of the day than paying something for cheaper.
And I
because
also just don't think that event organizers or tracks, unless they're upcharging a whole lot of money to make sure that they're covered in those instances, should be having to make sure that they're covered. Like if that's their business and all that sort of stuff, there is a reasonable amount of damage. But yeah,
I
to
think
try and keep costs low, and like I know what it costs to run a figure eight event, and by them having to blow 4 fire extinguishers on one event, that's them. They've just lost like 6 entries, like 6 entry fees right there, and now all of a sudden their margins have cut right back down. So if they run a quiet event like say we did on a few of the super drifts where they were barely breaking even or losing money on one of those other events. If more accidents like that had happened, then the event runs at a massive loss, and there's no more events. It's as simple as that. Like the events stop happening because now you're saying that people can't afford to drive. Well, the tracks can't afford to run the events because it's costing them money for people.
I know, but my point is people are abusing it, and they abuse because they have money to abuse it, and they're not everyone else. It's not just because you've got money you can sort of do whatever you want.
You can, because
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can do it. That's what I'm saying is you can do it, but you shouldn't do it because you can afford it.
All right, here's another option for you. How about before the event, the organisers go out and they dig massive trenches around the outside of the corners.
Yeah.
All right, so if you dirt drop, you're gonna fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And that's on you.
At the end of the day.
Well, that's what I think.
At the end of the day, you've got it all ready. Put it back. You can just shovel it all back in.
Yeah.
Away you go.
That's what I think about Japanese courses, because there's like barely any runoff. If you stuff up, you're gonna hurt your car. So that's why I think people don't stuff up there, because the consequences are severe.
Jake's got a good point. It's like, yeah, I'll drive over the tires and stuff just so I can tap your quarters and fuck up my car, but I won't pay a deposit so I can drift.
Yeah, well, that's the front wheels, but it doesn't matter. So it's not the rear. I'm not doing a dirt drop.
I vote for concrete walls and cliffs around all drift tracks.
Didn't Rob go off a cliff once?
No, he didn't go off a cliff. He just went up a bank that goes to a cliff. So someone else actually went over that cliff before. So
that is a pretty good incentive not to go off too. Actually, that's not bad.
Yeah. So my point was that it's.
I'm not sure what your point was.
No. Well, that's why I know you don't know, because I'm saying is people that can afford to abuse it will abuse it, and it shouldn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah, of course it shouldn't happen, but that's how society works.
Yeah, and that's why.
At the end of the day, but as long as it's not costing.
So people who can afford to abuse it are going to do it no matter what, whether there's a deposit or not. So you may as well get the money out of them from a deposit.
Yeah.
It just means that.
Just think, didn't it?
No. It just means that people. No. It does. Well, no, that's just logical. But I'm just thinking about the person that can barely afford to drive. So it's okay when you've got lots of money and you're cranking the entry fees. No. Because
go and get this credit card with a $10,000 limit and never use it except for your deposit for a drift day.
Man. So just listen to this.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, like.
So ultimately, what I want people to do is drift more, so it grows. But if you tell people that they can't drive, or you need to spend $10,000 to drive, then they need a lot of money, and I don't want that limit. So I want people to be able to drive. It's accessible. And then sort of.
So how do you filter out the jerks that just don't listen? Then.
That's right. That's my point. Is how do you
and that's why we brought up the solution that we have.
Yeah, but that's going to also put off, like, the money's the issue, because it's going to put off those people that can't afford to risk that.
Honestly, people who can't afford to risk, say, $200 deposit, shouldn't really be drifting. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like.
But $200 is reasonable, but say $1,500.
Sorry.
$1,500. Just.
So $1,500, yeah, I sort of understand that, but I mean $200 covers a fire extinguisher. If they use it.
So $200 I can understand, but it doesn't stop the people that can afford $200 to abuse it. It means that people that can afford,
But we're talking tracks that, like, say Wakefield and Figure 8, just as easy examples currently. There's no reason for anything more than a couple of $100 deposit, because the only thing that you're going to waste that will, that isn't already factored into your entry fee is fire extinguishers. If you hit and paint, then
Yeah, and if you dirt
repainting some
drop,
walls.
you lose your deposit there as well. I reckon.
Well,
Like if you,
yeah, potentially even that, or they just they factor in.
They just charge it
3 or
like
4 dirt-
Wakefield's is charged anyway, regardless.
Yeah, there's a tax on
Yeah.
it now anyway. Or
Yeah.
they say we've factored in 5 dirt drops per person, and as soon as you've been marked off as doing more than 5 dirt drops, similar to the decibel meter, you've triggered it a couple of times, then you're welcome to go home at that stage. But I was talking places where you're doing excessive damage or where excessive damage can be done. Say like Port Macquarie coming off the track and punching into fences. You shouldn't. Does that mean that everybody should lose the privilege because a whole bunch of people have done it and now it's costing the track more money than they're making? No, those people should piss off and go down to Wakefield and Figure 8 where it's a fixed price with a minimal deposit and they can go drive there.
See, I think there's something that needs to happen, not to send them somewhere else, but just to say you need to stop doing that. Like you need to go.
we try that. We've tried that.
But
You've been at events where you've told people not to do it and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I know, and that's what sucks.
But back to Steve's example, like you have a momentary lapse of concentration in you through a red light and cause an accident. You're still up for the cost of that. If I fuck up, and Logan brought up, if you end up through a fence in the wet, then definitely if you're in the dry, but maybe not so if you're in the wet. At the end of the day, it's still your fuck up. And
so you're liable for that. Yeah, that's fine. I get that, but it's why does everyone else have to wear the cost?
But you're
it's not a cost, though. It's a deposit. You get the money back.
You still,
why would you
still
pay for a locker at somewhere? Do you have to, you get a deposit back for returning the keys, or, you've got to leave your driver's license at whatever place because to make sure that you come back and return the keys at the toilet at the servo because a whole bunch of people are fucking lazy.
Humanity sucks, man. You need to incentivize them. You can't just.
I know, but it
don't
shouldn't.
do this and expect to do it.
I don't think it should be a money because that's going to put people off of drifting.
What do you take from them? Say, okay, well, you leave your car here at the end of the day then?
I don't know. That's why I'm just saying I don't think it's a good idea to have a huge